welcome to Peggy's Plays. This is Seve Cardosi, and joining me here is Dr. Bowman. Hey, Doc.
Hey, hi, welcome Sevi and Coast Radio, one of my favorite stations.
We can do that. Can you hear me?
You're soft, Sevi.
Oh, there we go. Now I hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Can.
Better. Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay.
And for those first time um, listeners that haven't met Dr. Bowman yet, which you've been on the show with me a couple times. You have so much information. It never gets old.
Oh,
But tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now.
okie dokie. Well, um, Dr. B is my handle right now. And it's funny, I was at the Martin Luther King 1963 I've Got a Dream speech, and Black history is going on. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. So I had a really, positive multicultural background, and justice and uh, advocacy is kind of part of my DNA. And then early in my life, I went to law school to kind of advocate for justice and better world. And then I had kind of a moment of like opening, and I
Oh,
said, I really want to study the law of nature and spirit. So that was back in 69, you know.
the summer love.
And so nature and spirit is really back to the earth, and also studying wisdom traditions, from all over the world. And so I've been a farmer. I've started a natural food restaurant and cooked, been a chef, and been to naturopathic school, and came to California in 1976. So the bicentennial or whatever it was, and created the Holistic Health Center, which was an integrated clinic with doctors and health practitioners, nutritionists, body workers, healing circle with prayers,
That was
um,
Berkeley.
all that, and then and classes. So the idea of clinic and classes, teaching people to be well, seemed to me to be the path rather than treating disease.
Awesome.
So
And
what we've seen all this time is disease is climbing. People are getting much more sick earlier in life, much more environmental pollution and poisoning. And so I took the task of being a nutritionist and being a food educator and being a wellness educator. So part of what I've done is created a school for training. Bowman College Holistic Nutrition and Culinary Arts is 35 years old.
that's when we
And
met.
so we train people near and far about the principles of health and food and lifestyle. And then the last few years, when I quote retired, which is a joke, I don't retire.
Mm,
I just push harder, or not harder, but just bring the work in different ways. Is community wellness and focusing on underserved populations and focusing on self-care practices and how people can become healthy and support one another in their neighborhoods, and how to build a healthy food system and access to foods and access to love. Because love is the ingredient that's lacking in a world of violence and crime. And love is the only force that actually moves people. It's non-resistance that is irresistible.
that's true.
So, I've kind of been studying this whole process, and now it's how to help people recover, because most people are quite damaged, and how to regain their health, both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially, environmentally, and
Right.
then work towards community. Because just like you, Sevi, community is really essential. It's not optional, it's essential.
It is.
And we have a small community, relatively speaking. We're a little bit outside of the mainstream, like 4 degrees of separation.
True.
But still, I want to speak to the mainstream,
Yes.
because the mainstream is getting bad messaging, and they're getting misinformation that is killing them. And then they're killing each other. And that's not acceptable. That's not the program. and there is a program of people being much more together, unified, and working things out collectively.
Yeah. But I think the main thing right now that's coming up is you have to work on yourself. You have to get yourself
Uh-huh. Yeah,
that healthy, joyous place, because when you're not feeling good or you're not mentally in a good place, you can't be present to participate
that's
in
right.
community in a loving and beautiful exchange kind
Yeah.
of way, you know?
So honestly, food mood is one of my areas of specialty, and mental health and mental illness and mental wellness is an interesting area because most medicine is disease. Oh, you've got a disease, you got a physical disease or you got a health disease or so forth, but it's all really just out of balance.
Right. Well, it's
And yeah,
one dimensional kind of view where
yeah,
what I love about you and your approach
yeah,
at the Bowman Wellness community is
yeah.
you have multiple dimensions
Uh-huh.
and bring it all together. So it's the whole person. You go to the core, and from there, you heal on a whole level. So if you can talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit, that's what you are. But
Well, I mean, I was fortunate that I woke up early. As a kid in the 50s, I saw the kind of ridiculousness of what was going on, and that, the food was not real food, that the whole chemical revolution had really tainted the food system, and then the whole food processing and packaging had really, made everything into Happy Meals. And I went, this is not right.
Mhm.
So it's just great to be a young person and also to be speaking with young people about what's right and what's wrong and what's healthy and what's not and what's moral and what's immoral. And that, as you said, we all have choices.
Yep.
So early on, I said, make a better choice wherever you are. And by looking at food, food is like level one.
Mhm.
Everybody eats, everybody loves to eat, everybody thinks about food. Food is an obsession because it's a survival. All beings eat and
Mhm.
and search for food constantly. So in the old days, we were hunter gatherers, and we would go out in the woods and go out in the rivers and go out in the fields, and we would find food and bring it home and have a shared meal.
Yep.
And part of me thinks that we're still tribal people, and we still need to go out and hunt and gather, and we still need to create shared meals and this whole kind of community and family approach rather than everything being separate and processed and some of that.
More hands, less work. And it's more fun when you have meals together
Well,
too.
it is, and it's interesting because people don't cook. 2/3 of the country of the U.S. right now doesn't cook at all. That's like ridiculous. And then 40% of the food, particularly the produce, is thrown away. So
Yeah.
we have this real imbalance around, oh, it's convenient. I can pick up something. I can call in something. Well, you can, but it's not going to be as good
Right.
as
Well,
if you can
shows
source it,
that shows in
cleanly.
our healthiness as a nation as compared to Europe and other places that do believe in having those family meals, cooking
Yeah,
fresh that
yeah.
day. And, like when I lived in Italy, you go
Oh, yeah,
downstairs and there's the fresh cheese right there, and all
yeah,
the veggies are on the stands. And I
yeah.
never went shopping for more than that day.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So the thing about Europe, and Europe is not ideal because these are global, you
Yeah.
know, food producers,
Mhm.
is that they didn't let the pesticides on the soil. They don't let glyphosate and Roundup in the soil, which has really damaged the microorganisms in the soil, the microorganisms in our body, has changed the nutritional value of the food. So cows that eat grass are usually pretty healthy, and cows that don't need antibiotics and don't need hormones.
Right. And
So
then
a
when
lot of the
white,
data says don't eat meat, don't eat milk, don't do this, don't do that. Well, it's more about don't eat food that is corrupted,
yes.
and
Yeah.
that the animal's not the problem. It's the way the animal was fed and raised and grazed and et cetera and so forth.
I
Um,
learned that. I learned that through the wine in Italy. Because here in California years ago, I started getting really bad headaches
that's right.
when I would drink the red wine. And I thought California wines were the top. Like, I love California. I did love
Yeah.
California wines. And I started getting these wicked headaches after I would drink like a glass or two. So I go to Italy, stay with my cousin, and we went to a late night wine tasting. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a headache. Drinking red wine, tasting them all,
Yeah.
never got a headache.
Isn't that
And
good?
I asked the sommelier, I said, you know what's so strange? I said, you guys use sulfates, right? Because I was thinking it was sulfates.
Mhm.
And they're like, of course we use sulfates. I was like, but
Mhm.
I don't get a headache from your sulfates. He goes, Sevi, it's not the sulfates. He
Okay.
goes, Americans spray their
Yeah,
grapes. And
that's right.
even if it's organic, they're still spraying.
Or
So
it's in the water.
I know.
It's in the air, it's in the water. We have aerial spraying here.
Hmm.
So again, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Um, what I'm doing now, among other things, is a course called Affordable Nutrition.
Yes, that's what I'm really
And
interested in
and
learning.
that's something we can all relate to because the cost of food is quite high
Hmm.
and it's going up and it's almost doubling. So
Oh,
we're in a banana
dribble
republic.
here.
No, but I'm saying, we're in these times, and I said this 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, that the affordability and accessibility to good food is going to diminish.
Mhm.
And then, we're in this kind of genocide, nutricide situation. And then people go, I don't know why I can't think straight, or, because they're dealing with, neurotoxins. So eating clean, unsprayed local food. I came up with a new acronym, Sevi.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's just funny because I'm not a formulaic person. I'm not a salesman. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And that makes me quite different than most in this world because everything seems to be buy me, try me. And to me, the supplement industry is not terribly successful because people don't eat well and people's gut and health is not well. So even taking quality product supplements doesn't always suffice. Okay. So I just wrote a course that I'll do in the spring called Eat Well to lower depression, anxiety, and insomnia.
Mhm.
And the WELL, the W is whole. So it goes without saying, it's just an original food. The E is earthy.
Oh yeah.
So look at your food and say, how earthy is that food? Well, carrot's pretty earthy. Even a piece of cheese is pretty earthy because it came out of the earth and came out of the cow,
Yep.
albeit the packaging. But most of the food people buy is second, third generation packaged processed food. And then the L is local.
Yes.
So if we don't have a local food economy, the food comes from Mexico, it comes from China, it comes from, Peru, and even the organic food has to be irradiated.
Right.
And so it's somewhat denatured, or it can be sprayed and so forth. So WEL, and then the fourth L, well, is love. So if we have whole, earthy, local food that we love, we will eat it. We will, feel better. We'll have fun, and we'll support our farmers, and our farmers will grow, and
That's
they'll grow for us. And then with affordable nutrition, it's how can we buy in lots? How can we buy wholesale?
mm-hmm.
Because the market has to pay for the lights and has to pay for the labor, and I mean, it's all that stuff's a real deal. And some of the food we will get at a market, sure. But if it's seasonal, even now it's February, there's some interesting foods coming in right now in February, and people who grow the food have more than they can use, or even the stores throw out a lot of the food that's 2, 3, 4 days old if it's fresh food, because organic food is perishable and commercial food is grown to have long shelf life, and it's disinfected. So
Mm-hmm.
you're eating disinfected food with antibiotics on the food or chlorine wash on the food that you buy, and then it creates hormone problems and nerve problems and gut problems.
Mm-hmm.
So even growing food is something we could do better at.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, I don't have any land. Well, it doesn't matter. You can have a flower pot. You can have you can scratch out some kind of earth and get earthier
Yeah.
and look at indoor outdoor growing possibilities. And then there's a relationship with food.
Hmm.
Because remember earlier I said hunter gatherer, you go in the woods, you grab berries. You
Yeah.
go in the woods, you get a little animal or catch a fish. And the relationship is very primal and you bless the food.
Yeah.
If you have to take a life, you say thank you. You're enabling me to live and do something of value, hopefully, you know. And so most of us, and particularly the the unconscious group, they take it all for granted, and then they complain. And complaining never got anything done. Complaining is not a solution to solving a problem. So as we begin to eat better, we begin to think better, act better, have imagination and resource to build this community and to build a culture.
Yeah.
So wellness culture is something that exists within me. It exists between you and I, Seve. It
Mhm.
exists amongst our family. Now, some people in your family are more tuned into this than others. And you can't lecture them because they don't want to be lectured. But if you cook for them and you cook with them and you bring in new healthy foods and
Yeah.
you say, this is what we're eating today, they'll eat it and
Yeah.
they'll go, that's actually really good. So my educational model of nutrition is to cook and
Nice.
to feed.
And
And
it's
then when people eat, they get interested and curious rather than, can I tell you all the problems that we have? Well, that'll chase them right out of the room.
yeah.
And so I focus largely on the positive, largely on the practical, and then say to people, do the best you can. But if you don't like to cook, find somebody who does.
Yeah.
Because we like to cook. So having friends over who go, I love this food, makes us happy, them happy, giving food to take home, food to share, and then you have sick people. And there's a lot of sick people, holy cow. And they don't eat. And by being sick and being on certain kind of medicines, most medicines, it interferes with nutrition. So they
Yeah.
always go, oh, your food is interfering with our drugs. No, your drugs are interfering with our food. And again, there are, certain
Yeah.
situations where medicine is very valuable, but in general, you see people who all of a sudden, gain all this weight.
Mhm.
And we can judge them just like we judge people judge a lot of things. And it's not that they're making bad food choices as much as they have chemical interactions and chemical sensitivities and hormonal and neurological problems that are kind of confounded by the environment and the food and the stress that people are up against. And then all of a sudden they look in the mirror and they gain 25, 50 pounds.
Yeah. And trauma, I'm
And
realizing,
no trauma for real. Yeah,
because
no, for real.
we're such complicated beings. We have all these compartments within ourselves, which I think those compartments are going away and we're all blending to become whole right now. It feels
Yeah,
like it. But that, to look at yourself as the whole person,
yeah,
which is, again, what I love about the Bowman Wellness, because you
yeah,
have opportunity to do that, whether it's
yeah,
art classes to heal trauma or, you got your affordability in the food, you got your activism, you have
yeah,
everything. So it's purpose, passion, how to be healthy.
yeah.
It gets your whole body, your whole soul, your whole mind involved in
Uh-huh.
here and living and living a beautiful life.
Well, for me, and I've been a health practitioner 48 years, My first case was a guy who said, I've got every problem known to man. And he listed them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so forth. And I said, wow. And then he said, and I've seen every doctor in the area, every practitioner, Eastern, Western, alternative medical. And he listed them. And I go, those are good practitioners. I said,
Mhm.
but you've missed it. He goes, what? I said, you. You're the doctor. You're the physician. You're the healer. You make the choices. They can't fix you. And if you start to follow the principles of health and the principles of nature and spirit, and I think spirit is not understood on a practical level. People go, "Oh, I'm spiritual." Yeah, but if being spiritual is being in the flow with the energy that's
Mhm.
there, and also being able to recognize what's false
Mhm.
and what's going on. So with this fellow who had these problems, they said, look, we got to start at square one. You need a foundational diet, and it's not a commercial diet. It's not vegan, it's not paleo, it's not keto, it's not this, it's not that. And so the food system that I've been working with, which is held up, is called Eating for Health.
Mhm.
And it's diversified whole food diet. And I ask people the first question, what are the foods that are good for you that you like to eat? Not what I think you should eat, or not the foods that research shows fix your problem, which it just doesn't, unfortunately. But what do you like to eat that's good for you? And take a minute and tune in to your soul. Soul is a big deal. Soul is not damaged. Body is damaged. Mind is damaged. Soul is not damaged. The soul is the you. The soul is the part that brings forward information and has purpose and guides us if we listen. And we're not trained to listen. And the people always say protein and vegetables.
Mhm.
Always. Kids say it, old people say it, sick people say it. And they may say fruits, and they may say avocados, and they may say, just the foods just foods, simple, whole, juicy, tasty, good foods. And
Mhm.
then this thing about animal protein is really hard for people because most people do well on animal protein. Most people feel better when they eat animal protein, but they're told not to do it. And
Mhm.
then they do it. Or, and they eat poor quality and some of that. So I mean, if we lived in a quiet, peaceful, simple life, we could eat plants and berries. We could. But if we're in a hard program and we need certain extra concentrated nutrients, they're more available in fish and poultry and meat than they are in beans and grains and seeds.
Mhm.
Now, again, I encourage people to eat, a variety of foods. And then as they take a break seasonally, they have a fast or they have a light food program, and then they stop drinking alcohol
Right.
and they stop doing drugs or recreational, and they get off the phone, and they get off the media, and they get back into simple living and being quiet.
Mhm.
And that's hard because people, you know it's like, oh, I'm going to flip out if I'm quiet. No, you're not. You're going to listen and learn about what's true for you and where to go, and you'll get guided, and you'll connect with people who you want to connect with, who support you in being who you are,
Mhm.
not being who they are, not being a good customer. Oh, there's another customer. No, there's another relative. We're
Mhm.
all relatives. We're all brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles. It's just, you're a distant relative or a close relative.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah,
family
friend
system can be
and
reconstituted
road.
when we base it on good value, not taking advantage of. And again, the stuff I get is almost all taken advantage of. And even things that are, quote, healthy, it's still about making money. And
Mhm.
then the thing about, can you make money being healthy? I started a school. People pay to learn. And at this state of life, we're all learning, and the learning curve is much faster now. I've learned more in the last year from paying attention to what's going on in post-COVID than I learned the years before COVID. You see what
Wow.
I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not that I took a course as much as I study what I'm looking for, answers to problems.
Mhm.
Like this Friday, we're doing a course on common viruses and how to manage them. And it's a free course through Bowman Wellness. And
That's
we'll
awesome.
have a video, so for the people who can't come, they can learn it. But very few people understand viruses. We know that they're here. We know that certain things that have been done have not been successful. But again, it's not what was in a book, because things get dated.
Mhm.
And on one hand, people say, oh, the information is so, escalating. It is, but the truth is not. The truth is the truth. The wisdom is the wisdom. The laws of living are the same laws of living across the country, across the world, across time.
Mhm.
But it's not AI,
Mhm.
it's not tech, it's not tricks.
Mhm.
And,
But
and
what
and people are trying to hack and trick
Yeah.
systems, and it has a little effect, but it's not very sustainable. And diet and lifestyle and attitude and community are sustainable, and finding tribe is essential.
Right.
So whatever that means, and you can be in more than one tribe, but these are not cults. These are this is extended family.
Right.
And inviting people who are kind of lost and lonely to join and to be with, and be careful not to take on their suffering or their dependencies or attachments. It's tricky because some people are, you know, they're high maintenance, and you go, this is how we behave. We don't take from people. We respect space,
Mm-hmm.
and we respect people working on themselves at all ages. That's part of how community works today. And I thought community was more active, but it's actually a lot of people who are still, following people and following ideas, and then hopefully um, acting, in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to say something, but if you're not doing it, it's not valuable.
And we talk about community because I think in the realm of affordable nutrition, it's
Yes.
really important to have a community where,
Yeah.
you can barter or trade or
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
different gardens. And
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about, without giving all your course away, but like some of
Yeah.
the keys to affordable nutrition. Because here on the coast, like I said, everything's like quadrupled in price
Yeah.
as far as vegetables, simple things, that
Sure.
we took for granted for so long. And at the same time, we're very lucky, as you are there, in Sebastopol
Yeah.
right now, because we have local farmers. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
people that raise cattle and raise
Yeah.
pigs and people that fish local, like especially now here, it's crab season.
Yeah.
And that's
Uh-huh.
one of the best times of the year. So let's talk a little
Yeah,
bit.
I'll give you the story on it. First of all, it was pretty cute that because I'm training nutritionists and whatnot, um, I did a project for shelterless people in Petaluma,
Mhm.
and it was for women coming out of battered living situations. And there's a lot of that. Good Lord, a lot of that. And so my daughter and myself and my wife wrote a book called Transitional Nutrition, because they were transitioning. And
Mhm.
then I changed it to affordable. And so Jessica was 24, and she's the co-author of that book. She's 38 now. And that program was administered live at shelter.
Nice.
And some of it was cooking on a burner. Some of it was just making a smoothie with a blender. I mean, it doesn't have to have a commercial kitchen and be high end stuff, but it's like, who are you people? What are your skills? Not very good. You're going out into the world. It's like kids going from high school to college.
Mhm.
Their skills are low. But again, as I meet with people, many people have very low skills. So it's home ec.
Right? We used to get
And
that in school,
I'm
huh?
saying, and Betty Crocker gone holistic, gone natural. So yeah, so we did that program and the women loved it. And more people came because they wanted to understand, where do I shop? How do I prep? How do I prepare? How do I save food, put it away, make a meal for 2 or 3 days, not just for one day? And then we did data on mental health, and their mental health improved significantly. It was
Wow.
measurable. So that's pretty cool. And
Mhm.
then we did it in affordable housing communities. So again, affordable housing are people, they're not shelterless, but they're not high end.
Mhm.
And then we had an agreement with the farmers to get a food box. So once a
Huh.
week there'd be a produce box, and either it was subsidized or given or something. But it was pretty affordable, and had turnips and it had parsnips and it had onions and had a lot of root vegetables, particularly in the winter. In the summer you get nice juicy produce and fruits and all that. And then we would unpack the box and talk about, well, let's see how to make soup, because soup is the universal meal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the universal affordable meal. Soup can feed a nation, you know? And so how do you use herbs and spices? That's my favorite thing. I love herbs and spices. I have
Yeah.
a food mantra I'm going to share with you, Seve. You probably heard it, but
Mm.
I'll say it and you say it back to me. When people say, "What should I eat?" I
Right.
go, fruits and veggies,
Fruits and veggies,
nuts and seeds,
nuts and seeds,
herbs and spices.
herbs and spices.
Have a nice day.
Nice too.
And
Pretty
if you
much
can bring
covers
those
it
into
all.
your program, you'll complement the heavier foods,
Right.
fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds. Now, nuts and seeds are remarkable. Seeds are remarkable. It's odd to me that nutritionists don't put much emphasis on seeds. That's the core of the whole program. Nature comes out of a seed. Even our cells are, seeding, so to speak. They're going through that. And seeds are pretty affordable. Sunflower, sesame, flax, chia, pumpkin seeds. And then you have seeds like cumin and cardamom and coriander and
But I put my coffee.
yeah. So this whole thing about, nuts and seeds and 2 ounces of nuts, you're okay for a while. You
Mhm.
just got fat, you got protein, you got fiber, you got vitamins, minerals, oils, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
So using them skillfully, and I will put seeds in soup.
Oh wow.
So again, I'm an unusual chef because I always make new things. I don't follow rest. I mean, I understand cooking, so I know how to make
Right.
dishes and how to take a conventional dish and make it a healthier dish. But it's just interesting. And even on my counter, I just keep stacks of flax and sesame and pumpkin and sunflower. And even if I need a snack, I'll just roast sunflower seeds and put them with an apple or put them with a couple of pieces of dates or raisins.
Right.
And it's a great snack.
And to keep the cost down on those, there are still places where you can buy them in bulk, correct?
Yeah,
Near
well, it's interesting. I just started going to grocery outlet.
Oh, I was like, what?
And, I mean, I have enough money. I can afford to buy food, and I do. And I spend a third of my money on food,
Mhm.
and I do. And even poor people, they might even spend more than a third of their money on food. If you look, you have to pay rent, usually. You have to pay food, and maybe you have to pay gas, and maybe you have to pay other cost of living or bills, and, it's a lot of bills.
Right.
But because I know that food is nourishment, it's not medicine. Now,
Mhm.
again, I say that because people go, oh, food is medicine. Turmeric is a nice plant, but it takes a long time eating turmeric to get an effect. You take medicine, you get a quick effect. So food it's economics, and I think we understand economics.
Mhm.
Okay. When you're born, you're either given a nutritional endowment or not.
Mhm.
So if your moms and pops were pretty healthy, the baby usually comes in pretty healthy. If
Mhm.
the moms and pops were pretty sick, the baby is coming in compromised and weak constitution. And
Mhm.
boy, that's a tough game. And then they get sick and then they get medicated in the whole 9 yards. And it's a tough game. And then they have learning difficulties and neurodivergence and all that stuff, where they get reactive to vaccines or, treatments. Okay. But if the little kids are fed well and they get real food, whole food, natural food, not synthetic formula,
Mhm.
they put money in the bank. So every time you eat, you're putting money in the bank or you're drawing money out of your savings account.
That blew my
So,
mind when we were working on the nutrition courses for the
yeah,
universities
yeah,
on the milk that they sell for these
yeah,
kits.
yeah.
And the first thing in it, what was it like? Something lack, the infant
It's
milk.
lactose, lactase.
No, the first thing was sugar, high fructose corn syrup.
I mean, unfortunately, milk is not labeled. So the dairy industry got away with not having to, identify what's in the
The
food.
cans of infant milk. Remember we
Oh,
had
no, you're right. No, no, no. Nestle's and formulas and all that. No, that is,
formula. That's the name of it.
there's
And I was
there's
like,
there's there's multiple sugars and fats that are, completely allergenic and aggressive and pro-inflammatory. And that's somewhat, some of the kids are born, they get so big, because they're on these, bulking formulas. And then a normal little kid looks like a shrimp. And the mom says, my kid is a shrimp. I go, that's okay. Is it sleep? Yeah. Does it eat? Poop? Yeah. Okay. Laugh, giggle. Yeah. Your kid's good. But again, I'm sorry to say this, but the system is corrupt. Hello. And the food system is corrupt. So, for people and particularly moms and women, they go, no, I'm going natural and I'm giving everything I can to my baby.
Yeah.
But they can get depleted. Nursing, it's a big job. It takes a lot out of you. And then the food grown commercially, the soils are depleted and there's not a lot of nutrients in the soil. So all the foods are enriched. Well, it sounded good, but I've never subscribed to it,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so, like I say, there's a lot of things that look good, have good looking labels, but when you look at the effect, you look at the vitality, you look at the tone, you look at the intelligence, it's not very high.
Right.
And then the vulnerabilities and the, susceptibility to infection or the growth pattern is disturbed. But I'll say this, because I tend to focus on the positive. It's just better that way. If somebody will eat 3 days of clean whole food, they'll feel much better. That's all, 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And it even doesn't have to be measured in terms of how much protein and how much fat and how much percentage and all that. I mean, because naturally speaking, there's a point you're going to go, I really need protein.
Right.
And you're going to eat an egg. And that's fine. Or, and then you'll say, well, I really need protein, but I'll have a couple of pieces of fruit. Well, you're still hungry. So
Hmm.
you'll eat an egg or nuts or seeds or peanut butter or something.
And I didn't realize, like, especially living out here, we can have chickens
Yeah.
and they're precious. They're so
Yeah.
fun. I mean, it's a little bit of work, but
Yeah.
they're
Life's work. I mean, come on.
prolific.
You
Yeah,
know,
they're very prolific. My friends were going out of town, so they gave us,
uh,
duck eggs and chicken eggs, and other friends gave us chicken eggs for Willie helping out, with the generators during the storms.
yeah.
And I get so giddy because it's like all these fresh, beautiful foods coming from my neighbors and my friends, and then you have foragers here. My buddy John came by with all these mushrooms one day, and I made the most amazing omelet
Yeah.
with black trumpet mushrooms and eggs.
I mean, look, you're a gourmet and you're also a forager and you're also an international. Look at a food desert in an urban neighborhood.
Yeah.
Look at where people have to buy food in the liquor store. People buy food in the, convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
For the society to change, the people with the money have to subsidize fresh, local, natural food because they subsidize meat, they subsidize dairy, they subsidize sugar, they subsidize alcohol. I mean, the commodities that are killing people are pricey or cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
like,
the foods that are restorative are fresh produce and it's expensive.
yeah.
So people who have $20 to spend, it's how you're going to spend $20 and how many meals can you get out of $20.
Mhm.
And a resourceful chef can get 3, 4, 5 meals out of $20.
Mhm.
And if that's affordable nutrition. And like I say, an egg is probably the greatest food value. And the yolk is more important than the white. So it's always mind-boggling to me that people split food. Oh, I don't eat the yolk, it's high in cholesterol. The egg yolk is what supports your brain.
Mhm.
It's fat, and your brain is fat. And so good fats enable you to have good brain function. And the cholesterol is another mechanism. It's not, you know, it's just it's kind of sad because even the medical profession has bought a certain kind of information package that's misinformed.
Mhm.
And whether they know it or not,
They're
it's
figuring
it's
it
not
out.
there. But people, consumers, and even people who are sick, and even people who are poor, I want to make that point.
Mhm.
They're searching to get well,
Mhm.
and they will eat good food, and they will make good food, and they will love it, and they will party in a
Mhm.
healthy way. So these biases that we have are garbage. It's just old prejudicial bias. and being in multicultural, diverse community is joyful.
Mm-hmm.
And being with people from Asia is really cool. Being with people from Africa is really cool. Being with people from all over the world culture, world food is fascinating. And saying, what did grandma eat? Grandpa eat?
Mm-hmm.
What are your holiday foods, traditional foods? So what we're aiming to do at Bowman Wellness, and I would appreciate an angel donor calling me and say, I want to fund your project because we're a nonprofit. Most of what we do, we give away
Mm-hmm.
or cost more than what we bring in. But we need good funding to be able to reach and scope and scale and then bring it into church groups,
Right.
bring it into ethnic communities, and then train people in these non-white communities to make this affordable nutrition culturally relevant.
And that's what you've been doing for
No, but
years.
I'm saying I come from a natural food, health food, organic, hippie background, and
Mm-hmm.
I still am, and I'm proud of it. And it works. I know it works. I'm a natural dude, and I'm getting healthier as I get older. And very few people can say that they're getting healthier as they're getting older. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't do anything fancy or tricky, really. And I'm not a freak about, oh, I can't eat that. If I'm out, I'll eat what I can eat. I don't overeat typically, and that helps. But
Mm-hmm.
the idea is this model of social transformation. You said starts with me. I need to get responsible, which is true, big true. If you don't have skills, it's skill-based training. And then if you learn something, you share it. So I have three mantras, three ideas: learn, practice, share.
Mm-hmm.
So today you might have heard something that you learned, and then you'll go home and you'll practice it, and then you'll share it with Melanie, who's
Mm-hmm.
your daughter, stepdaughter, or your friends, and the friends who are not already in the know, because talking to each other is preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is what I've been up against is the difficulty in talking to a hostile audience. And the world is very hostile. And I said, you know what? If I'm going to change the world, I have to have the bravery to get in front of a hostile audience and tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And then invite them to dialogue and to question and to share and get over whatever predisposed picture they have of me, which is not me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Or
Because most
food.
people are living on stereotype, and people are people. Chickens are chickens. The earth is the earth. We're all one big family, and we have a stake in cleaning it up and getting it going together. And then people go, wow, I can become the person I really am when I start to live in a simpler, healthier life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they can. And then they do. And then they get all pumped up, and then they share it with other people. And that's how we gain critical mass, and we can take over in terms of how things are done and really how money goes in this world, because money is what runs the world. And there's a lot of money in illness and politics and military, and it's not good. It's just wiping out life, and we're bringing life back to life.
Nice. And then when you talk about affordable nutrition, having that consciousness in there and
Yeah.
really thinking about what you're going to eat. Because, I mean, right now you look at McDonald's and a
Mhm.
burger's $2. It's tempting when, asparagus here on the coast is 15.99. It's like,
No, it's not.
I'm not
It's
even
not 15.99.
not kidding. It is 15.99 at one
Well, then
store.
you don't buy it. That's all. I mean, it's out of
Or,
season or something.
my goal in this, I'm going to have one of our local farmers and the lady that runs
Yeah.
our farmers market on the coast. I'm going to have her in next. And we're going to talk about what we can do as a community to grow these foods we love that we might not be able to afford. Other people can afford it, but there's hierarchy. There's all tiers. Everybody has, different income statuses, different things they have to pay. So, on your scale, there's affordability means
Yeah.
different things for different people.
Well,
And
it's value though. It's not just
exactly.
dollars, it's value. So if you spend your $10, how many portions did you get out of your $10 and what was the quality, not just the quantity? But
Mhm.
McDonald's is totally subsidized. So
Hmm.
all that product is very subsidized, and it's part of this,
Wow.
big agro, big, big business thing. So if we don't go to McDonald's, and then, they'll try a veggie burger, but people don't really like it.
Hmm.
So it's easy to make a veggie burger, and it can be all kinds of different things.
Right.
And having veggie burger contest, who could make a best veggie burger or anything, all that food, because people like to eat, man. That's our thing. We love to eat and we
Mm.
love trying new foods
Yeah.
and widening our taste because some people have just sugar, salty, fat taste. And that's not a very, refined palate.
Right. What I used to love to hear the stories is when I lived in Healdsburg too, they
Uh-huh.
talk about harvest and, be such a working time. And at the end of harvest, all the families would come together and have these huge potlucks.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, we used to do potlucks growing up with our friends and our families. And that was a really good way where each person made one dish,
Yeah.
but you got to eat a variety and have a beautiful meal. So that's where I think community comes in again as far as affordable food goes.
So you'll like this, Sebby.
All right.
Dinner parties.
Yes, we do those a lot. I
No,
love.
but I'm serious. That brings people together and then bring a speaker and have a theme
Oh, that's a good idea.
because we all want to learn and we all want to have something useful that we could take away other than just that was fun and make them alcohol free.
Yeah.
Again,
What's
people
so
go, I
funny?
like alcohol. Okay, drink alcohol at home. You don't drink at my house because I don't drink. But the point is, because we're sad and lonely and we drink, we smoke, we eat. Food is medication, but health and community and love is medication.
Hmm.
So we have to show people that we can have a good time without drugs and alcohol, and it has to have clean ingredients, or we don't bring it. And
Right.
it can be simple, if you just bring something simple, and tea is really an important substance.
Hmm.
So, there's a lot of questions about coffee and tea, and I keep reading that, the more coffee, the better you are. And I don't see it that way
Mm.
because if you're sensitive and your nervous system is sensitive, if you have too much caffeine, you're wired and tired and,
Yeah.
you're a mess. But other people are more, kind of hunky, and so it doesn't bother them. But individual sensitivities and situations, but all teas are useful: black tea, green tea, white tea, red tea, herbal teas, spice teas, all that are very useful.
Right.
And they can be organic because just like anything, if it's commercial it could have pesticides or it could pick up heavy metals or other things because any food is as good as the soil it's grown in.
Right.
And so getting a taste for tea is really interesting. And
And
trying
it's
different
a lot.
teas is really interesting. Yeah.
Now, I was just gonna say, when I switch to tea sometimes, because I'll take breaks from coffee,
Yeah.
it's much less expensive for me
That's right.
because I like my coffees. I like the Italian coffees. I
I
like
know.
cream. I like the sweetness. And by the time I add, I'll do my oat milk in this, you're looking at a $7 latte,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
where you can
I
make your
could feed
tea.
two people lunch.
Yeah. I mean, it's just getting to that point. So tea was another really good, inexpensive way. And that rooibos, I think, is just as rich and yummy as
And
coffee.
Jamaica, hibiscus tea.
I was talking to Donna Bishop yesterday, and I brought up the Jamaica because you know me, that's one of my staples. She's like, Sevi, she's you she said in Asia. I was like, oh yeah, I used to drink it in Thailand all the time. She
Yeah.
said it's used to reduce high blood pressure.
Tea
I was
is
like,
is
oh
mineral rich, it's
no.
potassium rich. See, this is the point I want to make. It's not medicine, it's food.
Mhm.
And people go, this is good for that. Yes and no, because if you eat two things bad and you have a cup of tea, you're still negative on your bank account.
Mhm.
Food is a bank account. All the good food you eat adds value to your bank, and all the food you eat that is inflammatory or irritating or allergenic or overstimulating is withdrawal, and then you get symptoms.
Hmm.
So again, we're all sensitive, so we all have tendencies towards aches, itises and aches.
And that's
Tea, but I just want to make this point.
yeah, go ahead.
Tea is water with plants.
Hmm.
We're two-legged plants walking around the earth. We're just plants with an animal motor and the potential for a spiritual mind. But our minds are basically clouded with all this information and programming.
Hmm.
But the things that plants require, we require.
Right.
We need soil, we need sun, we need food, we need air, we need motion, exercise, and we're networked. But when people don't understand that, they're just consumers. They're commodity. We become, more commodity. And then getting a foundational eating for health food plan, which is something that individuals have to figure out. People would say to me, "Can you just tell me what to eat?" And I go, "Sure. Here's the plan: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, dessert."
Hmm.
And when I go into food deserts, I go, "Guys, we have to figure out what you can eat for
Right.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, dessert, given who you are, where you are, what's available, what you can afford, because I can afford more
Hmm.
because I can, I do. But for them, it's this puzzle. And if people take responsibility, they don't think the doctor's going to solve the puzzle, or even the nutritionist is going to solve the puzzle, or a multivitamin with fish oil is going to solve the puzzle. It's not to say certain nutrients aren't missing, because they are, but they
Hmm.
all came from food. They all came from the earth,
Yep.
and even fish, it's part of the food chain. So getting access to that, is interesting. And sardines are the most nutrient rich food.
Oh, wow.
And you can get a $2 can of sardines or a $3 can of sardines,
Hmm.
and it's pretty clean and it's powerful. Now, oh, I don't like sardines. Well, find
That's
a
what
way to eat sardines. That's all. It's
anytime.
not, we have to be more kind of resourceful rather than spoiled little kids who pick at our food and throw it off the floor and demand, dessert, or else we so again, the lack of immaturity is remarkable.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, if you go, well, if sardines would get me my mind back, I will eat sardines.
Right.
And I can eat them, with rice, or eat them with salad, or eat them, there's different ways. If something is very concentrated, you mix it with something that's more neutral,
Yeah.
and
They
then
do,
it kind of works out.
one of the ways that I've learned to enjoy them is like the bruschetta. We'll
Yeah,
do fresh, with tomatoes and mix
yeah,
them up, like grind it because sardines are so intense.
they are. They're concentrated.
And you got to watch out for the hairy little things. I'm not a big fan. But when you break it up and you
Yeah,
mix it up or saute it with the
yeah.
tomatoes, onion, and put it on like crostini or gluten-free crackers, it's
Mhm.
delicious.
Well, again, it's a composition, right?
And that's the
And it
that's the tricky
that's a
part is learning to be creative. It's
well,
creative.
but most it's like monkey see, monkey do. In the affordable nutrition, we have a sardine tapenade in class 3. So in each class, we do a food demo.
Oh yeah, let's talk
Each
about the
class, we have a tea of the day. In each class, we have a food of the day. In each class, we have a simple, practical nutrition lesson and a food demo and recipes.
awesome.
And then if people want, they can make the recipe along with the chef, or they can go home and do it. Usually they go home and do it on their own. Then next week you go, did you do it? And some people did. And how did it work? It was really good. I go, great. And then you say, I don't have an ingredient. Well, that's no biggie. You just substitute another ingredient. And if you don't know what to do, you ask somebody who can help you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I think for the thing to appreciate is this is kind of remedial, but it's also kind of advanced.
Hmm.
So someone of your background would enjoy it because you know a lot and you love food and you love to create and you're an artist and you're a healer.
Now
And
talk
somebody,
about
but 1 second, but somebody else may be embarrassed because they just really know so little. And
mhm,
maybe they watch a cooking show, but a cooking show is entertainment. It's not health.
right.
See, now it could be, but we're so used to this entertainment thing and we just want to be entertained. And I want to educate and empower. and then build, good life for a lot of people,
Right.
and do it now because, we don't have any time to lose here.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's talk. So, if people wanted to participate in affordable nutrition,
Yeah.
let's take them through those steps. And you've talked about the course,
Yeah.
the format of it. So they kind of know what they're getting into or
An
learn.
hour and 15 minutes on Zoom.
Hmm.
And, it's teacher led. I have a lovely, wonderful teacher who'll be the lead and I'll be the backup. And, there might be 10, 15 people in the room. It's not going to be humongous. Well, I mean, it could be, but that's probably the likelihood. And there's time for discussion because to me, discussion is the best part of any class, question and answer.
And then you have a
There's a
workbook.
book. There's a beautiful book that Jessica and I and my wife Chris made, which we've updated. It's a color PDF, so it's an ebook, and
Mhm.
it has chapters and information and recipes. Again, very practical. And then, people can go to bowmanwellness.com. That's
Mhm.
the website, and they'll see it. Or if they want to email me, I can help them and give them a link or something that could make it a little bit easier and quicker. So my email is my name, Bauman, wellness@gmail.com. So if you email, my name's Dr. B at bowmanwellness.com and go, I really want to get going on this. It starts on February 29th. So it's a leap year start. That'll be kind of fun.
Started on the leap year.
And then I'll do a level 2 and then I'll do a level 3. But
Great.
for this term, it'll be 4 classes on Tuesdays at 3 to 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. And
Tuesdays.
then each class will be videoed. So if you can't make a class, you'll get the video. And then there's,
Mm-hmm.
ways to chat and, be in a class. Because that's the thing about a group. It's like we're building now this cohort, this, family.
Awesome.
And we
So,
also have a course on the artist within, which starts on Tuesdays. And it's
great.
again an hour and 15 minutes at Zoom, 3 to 4:15. And it's really about creative expression and how to use these things in teaching. So I'm teaching you to teach others.
Right.
It's an
That's
important
cool.
thing.
And there's also some great free videos on there and lessons and there's
Well, we have a
community.
YouTube channel, Bowman Wellness YouTube. It's got lots of content that most people haven't even looked at.
Mhm. And there's lots of cooking recipes, and your recipes have been so good over the years. And I'm like, how do you make healthy taste so good?
Yeah,
Well,
but I will go places and do class live because it's nice to be with people.
awesome.
If you invite me, it's likely I'll make
Well,
an effort.
maybe we can get you up here this winter going into spring and have a
Sure,
couple fun
we can.
classes or maybe some dinner parties.
But I'm saying, like a conscious dinner party is really excellent.
Awesome. Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining us here
My
this morning.
pleasure, always. And best to Peggy and the crew at the station. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you. And once again, to look up Dr. Bowman and Bowman Wellness and learn about affordable nutrition, you can go to bowmanwellness.com.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Seve Cardosi. Today, hope you enjoyed it. And now we're going to take you on over to Native American Calling right here on KGUA 88.3. Ciao. All right. I think,
We're
all
off
right,
the air.
I think Native American Calling just kicks in. I'm going to let you go, Doc. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's talk.
All
Thank
right.
you, Sebby.
Ciao.
Always a pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.